far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 women growing strong. 100 women where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny. Woman, woman.
As people of African descent, we offer this land recognition in solidarity with the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island in the efforts and deliberate intentions toward decolonization. As people of African descent, we acknowledge the land of Turtle Island that sustains us, express deep gratitude to its indigenous peoples, and pledge to honor our dignity and divinity that ultimately connects us all. By Kay Johnson. Welcome to 100 ABC Fireside Chats. 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women is a bold project initiated by co-authors and co-founders, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, and Donna Jones Simmons. Our mission is to celebrate and archive the professional accomplishments of trailblazing Black women from all across Canada. The goal is to create an ever-expanding database available for current and future generations via print media, public and private libraries, as well as our website, which is www.100abcwomen.ca. In addition to our fireside chats on topics that matter to our communities, such as education, healthcare, entertainment, creative arts, trade union, and so much more, we offer biennial book launching galas and biannual symposiums. The co-authors and co-founders would like to take this opportunity to thank each of you for attending today's fireside chat. We know that you will find these sessions educational and inspirational. So sit back, relax, and hear from our brilliant and talented honorees.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Takia Wedderburn. I will be your moderator for this afternoon session. So this afternoon, we're going to be speaking about social media and its role, as well as misinformation and disinformation and how to recognize fake news. So I would like to start off by introducing our very wonderful and talented group of panelists that we have this afternoon. So we have firstly, Fenella Bruce. Fenella is a media consultant and producer. She is the founder of FKB Media Solutions and FKB Media Productions Incorporated. Fenella was recently named Rogers IABC Communicator of the Year for 2023. All right, and the next we have Siobhan Calderbank. Siobhan is the Managing Director of Talent Development and Enablement at the Alberta Investment Management Corporation and founder of Butterfly Ladies Mentoring Program. She is a keynote speaker, recognized expert in leadership and change management, DEI advocate, and award-winning author. She is a featured book contributor alongside Oprah Winfrey, Maya Angelou, John Lewis, Deepak Chopra, and many others. She has received many accolades and is one of our top 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. And next we have Juliet Opoku. Juliet is the CEO of Living a Balanced Life Incorporated in the GTA. She is a certified health educator, certified diabetes educator, certified bariatric educator, vice president of the Ghanaian Association of Ontario. Her area of expertise is chronic illness management, mental health, health promotion, and disease prevention. And then last but not least, we have Louise Dowell Ambrose. Louise has been a driving force for many things that have flourished in Hamilton, the surrounding area of the GTA and the world. Louise owns and operates Even to Be, a public relations and event planning business that highlights events in the city and worldwide that focus on teaming social events and cultural experiences. Her business, Even to Be, is a go-to resource for many within the Caribbean, Black, and multicultural communities. All right, so I want to just jump right in, ladies. We have a very packed afternoon, very, very interesting topic that we are going to be covering this afternoon. So I want to start things off by, I'll start with Fenella, I'll start with you. So your first question is, so Fenella, what are the telltale signs that something is fake news?
Unmute before you tell me I'm on mute. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I hate the term fake news. I feel like because every time I hear it, I think of Donald Trump, and so it's kind of annoying. And he coined the term, and I don't know that there's. I mean, when he was talking fake news, it's basically anybody who's against him. So I just want to make sure we're sure of the definition when we talk about fake news and what that really means. And in terms of social media, it's when something is presented like it's coming from a reputable news organization like a CNN or a Globe and Mail or Toronto Star, and it's presented as if it's factual. With the same sort of fonts or headline type colors, of the publication. And so people tend to, and I find this particularly with WhatsApp, people tend to forward that on right away when they read it. We saw a lot of that during the pandemic. A lot of misinformation was sent out because it was presented as factual. And it doesn't just have to be, actually, I should say, it doesn't just have to be from a reputable news organization. There were a lot of people who were posting things, on YouTube or on Instagram, videos telling you, different concoctions that you could use to cure COVID or all those sort of things, and saying that, I'm a doctor or I work in the healthcare profession, whatnot. And then that was circulated as if it was factual, if it was true. So, I mean, my background is I was a television producer for over 20 years, and I had a news director that always said, check your sources, even if your source is your mother. Do not believe it. Right? Make sure that you go back to whatever is quoted in the article, whatever person is quoted, Google them. Make sure that before you pass on this information, that you know for sure that it's accurate. Excuse me. That's the first thing. But I find that if you know what something should look like, there's telltale signs that you can tell it's not true. And there are people, like, I've gotten things from my own mother who's forwarded things, and I know because I work in media right away, like, this is fake. And so I'm like, stop circulating this. But in a nutshell, that's what fake news is on social media. Things that are generally user generated or misinformation that people now pass on as fact.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fenella, for really just positioning that and giving us context around, how to be able to differentiate between fake news and real news. So thank you so much for that. And again, as Fenella said, everybody out there, please check your facts, especially before you go ahead and circulate it. You definitely want to make sure that you are passing on credible information. All right, so my next question is for Siobhan. So Siobhan, how do you position yourself as a credible thought leader on social media?
Well, I think it's important for you to first figure out like what is it that you want to talk about before you can establish yourself as a thought leader. And I find oftentimes that's usually the number one sticking point for a lot of people before they start getting onto social media, because they just don't know what should I be talking about. And if I want to be seen in a certain space as a leader, what would I have to do? And it's not just necessarily posting stuff that is related to that topic. You have to have a different voice and shed some light in a different way that creates yourself to become more credible. And I think it's important that we also take a look at, look, what are you the most experienced in? And so oftentimes when I talk to people, I ask them, like, tell me 2 or 3 things that you're really good at and you're really passionate about. Because I think not only do you need to be good at something, you also have to like doing it. Because there's some things that you're good at, but you don't necessarily love it. But when you find that sweet spot of, I love what I'm talking about and I'm an expertise in that area, it comes through a lot more authentically. I also find that if you pick topics that are very similar in nature, it's easier to start building up that credibility. So for me, if you were to follow me on LinkedIn, you're going to find most information around leadership, women empowerment, and DEI and change. It's like those are all together, because with the leadership, you're always helping people to deal with change. I think DEI, I'm extremely passionate about it. I was a leader of talent management and DEI. So all of these areas sort of converge. So as I talk about them, I can have an established credibility around that. And then I'll use facts. So to Fenella's point, I'm not going to post something that's not true unless I've made sure that I've checked my facts and the research is correct. That also adds to your credibility. And I believe the more you talk about things that you know about and that are all interconnected, the more credible you'll come across. And if you start talking about things that are like all over the place, say for instance, I'm showing pictures of food and I'm going to talk about wine, and then tomorrow I'm talking about leadership, and then the day after that I'm talking about cryptocurrency, and then the day after that I'm talking about like how to dress for success. Like it's all over the place. So it's when I talk about DEI, sorry, I see that in the notes, DEI meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion. And those I think make for a really great leader when you're able to exemplify those types of characteristics in your leadership style and how you interact with others. And I'm passionate about that. So you're going to see me talking about it. And it's easy for me to share my thoughts, my own personal feelings about something, and then I become more authentic. And then when you start commenting on other people's posts, you also build up your credibility there too.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And I really like what you said in terms of, sort of sticking within, I guess, your own lane, so to say, and really focusing on things that you enjoy and that you're passionate about, and that will really show itself once, when individuals do come to your social media page and whatnot. All right, so my next question is for Juliet. So Juliet, how does misinformation affect people's management of health?
Yeah, thank you. And hi, everyone. So this is a big thing that I talk about everywhere I go because especially from the background from Ghana, from Africa, there's a lot of, like somebody mentioned, all the concussions that was happening during COVID, and everybody's giving their little, knowledge here and there. And with chronic illness, everything has to be done properly based on your current health. So I think that's what sometimes most people forget, that, something might be good for Juliet, but it might not be good for Louise, right? Because we all have different genetic background. We come from different family. We have different health history and different things going on with our organs. So one thing that might fit somebody might not fit you. So we have to be very, very careful that when information is communicated out there, that we're not just taking it as is and applying it to ourselves directly, right? We have to look at our health history. So for example, being, in the role of diabetes educator, I have a lot of clients that say, you know what, Julia, I'm going to go back home. And when I go, I'm going to go and get the herbs and this and use that to cure my diabetes, right? And then sometimes it makes my skin crawl because I know, not that herbs don't work. They do. And like I have database where I can fact check certain things that you can take that could actually help you. But at the same time, you have to make sure that it is compatible with current medication that you're taking. So sometimes people will put a lot of things on social media, like, boil this and add that and it will cure this. Whenever it says cure, it makes me cringe because everything is lifestyle management, and that's what I teach. So if you do something very well, for example, let's say heart disease or hypertension, you're taking your medication, you're exercising, you're eating healthy, you're controlling your stress, and all of this in combination is helping you manage. But the minute all those good things goes away, right, then the disease will progress. So we have to be very careful when we hear, take this and it will cure you, or take that and it'll cure you, because it's very harsh and it's not good. It's not good for us. We have to make sure that even if and it could be working for other people, right? I'm not saying everything you hear out there might not work, but you have to make sure that you double check it with you, where you go to see your clinician, you go to see your diabetes educator, your doctor, your nurse, and say, this is what I've heard. This is what is out there that I'm hearing. What do you think? They can double check it for you, because sometimes certain natural herbs can make medication more potent, where it will drop. For example, if it's diabetes medication, drop your blood sugar too dangerously, or sometimes it will cause the medication not to work at all. So even though you're taking the medication, you're not getting any benefit. So we have to be very careful when we hear all these information out there, that we apply it to ourselves based on our medical history, so it can help us, not just going blindly and taking things, because that we can do more harm that way. So we have to be very, very careful with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think especially in social media, there's often a lot of, as you said, there's remedies and there's different supplements that are sort of put out there, and then individuals will, will come across a social media post, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this person says this is good for X, and then all of a sudden now they're trying it, but they have a very different genetic makeup than the person that is posting it. So definitely want to make sure that you are going to a credible source, checking with your practitioner to ensure that it is compatible with your unique genetic makeup, for sure.
Yeah. And just to add, even if it's food, because sometimes people say, well, Julia, it's just food, food that I'm combining and boiling or whatever. Remember, there's also allergies. So if you have to be mindful that even food can also harm, so you still have to be very careful and double check everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So Louise, question for you. What is the best use for social media?
Thank you. Good evening, one and all. Thank you for the question. In my teens, I started off in media before social media, or Facebook, as one will call, or MySpace. Do you remember MySpace? I was always taught we need to use media for good. So hence, with me, when I use social media, is to empower, to inspire, to bring awareness of a product, place, service, but always for the betterment of community. And always being positive and being authentic in what I put out. Definitely when I put out any information that I see that's out there, I always check the source. Who putting it out? What's the angle? What's the history? And once that is done, I will do a second or 3 times cross-check, depending on the issue or the material or the content. Because one have to be very careful of the information when what we put out, because it affects everyone. It affects my brand, especially if it's a lie or it's a rumor. It affects someone's health, as we had mentioned, mentally. So we have to be very mindful.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. All right, so the next question I have is for Fenella. So Fenella, how can you use social media to benefit your business or brand?
Well, I think that definitely social media is one of the most inexpensive ways to promote and market your business. If you don't have a big budget or a no budget, but you're going to be using your time, so it depends on what your time is worth, right? It can be very beneficial to you. Siobhan mentioned, about, staying focused on your brand and what you're about, and not be, posting vacation pictures or food pictures. And I recommend to people, like, if you're, for example, if you're on Instagram, have a personal account for that stuff, right? And keep your business stuff separate. Same thing, like, if I guess Facebook as well, right? Like, that's sort of the platform for it. For businesses, I find like LinkedIn, Instagram, and now I'm not on it, but I know a lot of people use TikTok, are good platforms for promoting your business and getting your message out. You need to know where your audience is. Where are your people? Where's your tribe? Where do they look for you and look for your content? I discourage people from trying to be all things for all platforms, or trying to post the same thing on all platforms, because each of them are different, and and they relate to your content differently. They're received differently. So when you try to sort of just do a blanket thing and put the same thing on every platform, you'll see that you'll get very, very different results. I find that, you know, for my company, like Instagram and LinkedIn are the two ones that I focus on. I'm also have a presence on X, but I find for me personally that just it requires a lot more time and effort that I'm not willing to put into that platform. It's a more conversations and dialogue and stuff that happens there, but I do go to it for information. I use it for finding out what's happening, news information, that sort of thing. So, figure out where your audience is, put together a social media calendar. It will make your life so much easier on a monthly basis. Figure out, what it is, what content resonates with your audience. So whether it's just, pictures or video, whether it's polls or contests, giveaways, what is it that works for the people that you're trying to reach, and schedule that out. And I also tell people that you don't I know it looks like people post every day, and most people do use schedulers, but you don't have to post every day. You need to figure out when your people are looking at your stuff, right? And all of the platforms will tell you what peak times are when people are on checking at your stuff, and target it for those specific days and times. And it will make your life so much easier, and you'll see more results, you'll see more engagement. And then the last point that I'll make is that people forget it's social media. So it can't be a one-sided thing. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's okay, I'm posting, and that's enough, right? But if you're not engaging with other people's platforms, what they're posting, or whether it's commenting or liking or sharing, whatever it is for that platform, then you will not get any results back for yours as well. Like, the more that you are on there socializing, is the better for your own account.
Yeah,
Can I add to
absolutely.
that?
Sure.
Can I add to
Yeah.
that? Yeah. I was when you were talking a bit about like the content to choose to put to bring up your brand. I was seeing this. I don't know if you want to call it like an infographic, but it was from the local marketing lab, and it had suggested like a 70-20 rule, a 70-20-10 rule. And it says like 70% of the stuff that you post and you're trying to build up your brand should be informational. So you want to put out stuff that's educational, you're bringing advice, how to, any updates. And then 20% should be emotional, where you're trying to connect with your viewers or your audience, values, things that are fun or funny or inspirational. And then the other 10% is promoting your actual product or your service. And if you use that, then that's also how you build up your credibility too, because people don't want to be just having a whole bunch of messages coming out from you that's all promotional, then they stop, right? They just ignore you. But when you're giving them good information about how to do something, this is how you start building your following base. And I think it's important just to keep that little rule in mind, the 70-20-10.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of free educational videos that I put out, and like media tips and that sort of stuff. because yeah, you want people to come back because they're learning something from you, usually for free, and they're getting that and it's of value. Donna just asked about YouTube. So one interesting point about YouTube that people don't really think about it as a social media platform, but it is, and it's actually the number one social media platform. It's the one that most people go to, believe it or not. And so I think as content creators, because a lot of people think about like the big YouTubers that are, have like a million followers, whatever, they sort of don't think of it as something that they should be or think about contributing to. But think about the fact that once you put something on there, it lives on there, and people over time may come to your content, right? So you're building, you may not be like right away you're posting, you're getting 50,000 views, but I've seen content that's been posted, so I would say like from 5 years ago, and then it's up to 10,000 views, because over that time period, people have gone to it or seen it for whatever reason, or the person's promoting it. So I would encourage people to use YouTube, but also make sure that you're using it in tandem with your other social media platforms, promoting that content, putting clips on there, driving people to your YouTube channel so that they check it out. And it's a good place to house different video content, longer content than you can put on other platforms as well. So it definitely is a good tool that I think is underused by a lot of entrepreneurs that you should consider, setting up a channel and having some content on there as well. And there's also now YouTube Shorts as well, and you can, and I reuse the reels that I have on Instagram. I put them on my YouTube Shorts, and they've been, and I just post them, and they've been accumulating thousands of views, and I didn't do anything with that. I just put it on there.
Interesting. I mean, there's so much to unpack here from what Fenella, what you had spoke about, as well as Siobhan. I want to go back to what you said about differentiating your social media. So having a business page and then having a personal page, and really the importance of that. Because again, I think going back to what Siobhan, what you said a little bit earlier in terms of, having very, very specific posts and sort of, or having a lane and sort of sticking in that lane. So I think oftentimes, if some influencers do sort of decide to mix personal and business, it can become quite problematic in the sense that you're not really sure that they're not giving you a really clear idea in terms of, what this person is trying to relay, what their brand is trying to relay. So just wanted to just reiterate that again about the importance of personal and business. Another thing that you had mentioned as well, Fenella, in terms of analytics, which I think is also very, very important because analytics are there. It's sort of, I guess, on the back end, if you will. And not a lot of people do take advantage of it, but just want to stress the importance of, taking advantage of that because it is available so that you do have an idea of when people are engaging with your page so that you can really take advantage of that and get the best use in terms of engagement.
Coming back to the first point you were making about business and personal, it's interesting because I went into social media kicking and screaming because I'm a very private person. And so for me to like do all of this, I was on when it was Twitter, I was on Twitter for work when I was working in news, and that was it for me. I wasn't on anything. And it wasn't until I started my business that I was first on LinkedIn, and then I went on Instagram. And so I really wanted to make sure that it stayed focused on my business, my brand, media, what I was doing. But what I have but part of the thing is I am the face of my company, right? This is my name, I'm the face of my company. And so how I was able to sort of resolve that private versus public facing is that I found an easy way to do it. Instagram stories, they only last for 24 hours. And so people were interested in events and things that I went to, which I would shoot and I would put up pictures or whatever. And it was only there for 24 hours, which was my comfort zone, that it wasn't lasting out there. And I was getting actually more views on my IG stories than my posts, right? So told me that they were interested in what I was doing, or things that I was attending or whatever, more so than my posts. And so that's how I sort of manage that sort of personal and business thing that I can give you a little bit of my personal life to what I'm comfortable with, and it's going to disappear in 24 hours, which I'm very comfortable with, and so it's not there living on online. So you can find a way to sort of navigate those things to your own comfort zone. Like if you don't want to put too much out there. And I think it is important, and I think Juliet will talk about this as well, for your own mental health, right? That you have some things that are that's private, right? That's not out there. And because sometimes people are very nasty on social media, and they comments and stuff that you're not even thinking about, based on stuff that you post, right? So you have to be very careful about what you're putting out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just going back to what Siobhan was talking about in terms of like specific posts, my question for you, Siobhan, is many people are busy nowadays and they don't have time to post on social media. So should you post the same content on all social media platforms? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say no, because each platform is for a different purpose. So what you might put on LinkedIn may be very different than what you're putting on Facebook, and vice versa. So if I went to a wedding and I want to capture a moment, with like one of my friends, I'm not going to put that on LinkedIn, because I don't think people want to know that. They're going on that for information purposes, to find out about industry related news updates, and they're not there necessarily to find out about a wedding that I went to or a social event. Now, if the social event has something to do with what I'm passionate about or what I talk about, so let's say I go to an event like Black Mentorship Inc., and I'm talking about helping out underrepresented populations and providing them with opportunities for mentorship or something like that. Now I might put it on both, but what I write might be slightly tweaked. So for LinkedIn, I'm going to be talking about it from a business standpoint, why it's good to have mentorship, why you might want to volunteer. And then on Facebook, I might talk about it as like, here's an event that I went to and it was really great. Shout out to like the organizer. And it might, so you could see sort of like the subtle differences. And that to me makes more sense based on the audiences of who's watching these things. So you might want to tweak what it is you write. I also think if you can find some sites that allow you to merge some of the information, so like whatever you post on maybe Instagram and TikTok, you might be able to repeat some of that information. Same with Facebook, and in that case, maybe you'll say all three post the same things there, but you might not do that for say X or LinkedIn or YouTube. Like you're gonna have to pick and choose what makes the most amount of sense based on the audiences who are going there and what are they looking for, which all boils down to really, what is the purpose of your content? What are you putting this out for? And who is the audience that you're trying to attract? What information are you trying to convey to them? And is this the right platform for that information to be put on? And if you really don't have that much time to be posting on all these different sites, then don't. Just pick the one or two that you're comfortable with and just do that. No one says you have to be or feel pressure to be on every single platform. Nobody has time for that. That's a whole job in and of itself. And many of us who are sitting listening to this have a full-time job. So we can't take on that extra job of being on every single platform. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of managing your time and whatnot, because surprisingly, posting on social media, it is time consuming. It can be quite time consuming. Just trying to post even just one simple post. In terms of if you have to edit the video, or if you have to write a little blurb about what the video was talking about or whatever the post is talking about, you have to tag certain individuals and whatnot. So it can be quite time consuming. But as you said, do what you can. And you're not expected to post on all platforms, just, again, do what you can. There is a comment
actually for that
Was
one
it-
too. Oh, sorry. There's a comment here.
There is, yeah. So Donna actually said that that's for you, Siobhan. You've been showcased on various media like Manhattan billboards. Can you speak to that?
Oh, that's like in New York, Times Square, and in Vegas. I've been on billboards like 3 times, which is fun. And that's
Okay.
again based on the work that I do both professionally, thanks Louise, and as well as in the community. And so the organization that had put me up was the International Association for Top Professionals, and they recognized the work and said, hey, we'd like to feature you on this billboard, which is great from a branding standpoint. Again, it depends on how you use it. So if I go to like my website, I'll have pictures, but if you go on LinkedIn, I link it back to the work itself and giving back to the community. And if I'm being nominated as like an empowered woman, what does that mean in the workplace? And on Facebook, it's like, this did a really cool thing. You know what I mean? So it's a different type of language that's being used. And for those who are running out of time and trying to figure out, geez, I can't keep up with all of this stuff. One of the hacks that I was trying to mention before is just repost somebody else's content that you know is credible, right? And that is good. Just give them the shout out, and then you don't have to write a whole bunch. You just write one sentence, maybe like love this, or just put a heart with like a little emoji, figure it out. Right? So, and that's it. You don't have to put a whole bunch more, because people will read it. And if you have people who trust you and believe you to be credible, they will go ahead and read that post too. So I find that sometimes when I know I want to post something, but I really just don't have the time, I just throw something else that someone else has put up that I know is credible, and give them the recognition, which also allows you to cross-pollinate and network. And I think it's a really wonderful thing when other women start promoting other women in their networks, and that's how we all grow together.
Yes, absolutely. I love that hack, by the way. Reposting, other posts that other influencers have posted. All right. So my next question is for Juliet. So Juliet, how do you look after your mental health, especially misinformation on social media? How can we sort of navigate that?
Yeah, and mental health is a big area, especially for us. I would say African descent, because I know mental health is like a big taboo that nobody likes to talk about. Like or most people like to pretend that everything is okay, even when it's not okay, and it could be a lonely diagnosis or a lonely place for most people, because most people don't even recognize themselves that whatever they're going through is a mental health issue. So it's very important to check in with yourself. I think I always talk about self-love. I always put self-love is still love, right? Like you have to check in with yourself, know what your norms are. And when things start to go a little array, where like you can feel symptoms happening where you can't sleep, you're stressing about a lot of things, then you need to check in with yourself, because when mental health is not there, physical health also goes with it, because our body's built and we're connected. If I have an illness where it requires me to be mentally alert, to be able to take my medication, to focus and to do all of that, and if that piece is not there, then all the good things that I need to do to take care of myself also goes with it. So we have to be very mindful. And I like what everybody said. We have to, pick something that we're good at and work at it. It's not a competition. We are all there to provide credible, good information and support for each other. So for example, if Louise posts something and she got 50,000 likes, and then I posted something, I got 2, that shouldn't be, we have to be very mindful how that could affect us, because really it does affect people's mental health, because then people can become very zoned in and very focused on what people don't like this and people don't like me. And then we can reflect it back to ourselves, right? So we have to be very mindful that whatever we're putting out there, we're sharing information, we're sharing credible information, and it's there to impact people. Whether we get 5 likes or no likes, the information is there to do something good for somebody. So we have to check in with our own mental health, us that are putting the information out there. And then also when you read something about anything that's out there, like you're reading, you have to make sure that, like everybody said, from credible source. You don't want to read something that's gonna spike your anxiety, right? Because especially during COVID, one thing that I was dealing with a lot in the community was that people were reading all kinds of news, all kinds of things, and were triggering their symptoms, because our brain works like that. Whether the threat is real or is anticipated, our body reacts the same way. Same stress hormones are being released in our body, same chemical reaction is happening. So we have to be very, very mindful that we know who we are. So for example, I'm the type of person, I like to laugh, I like to have fun. And I don't think anybody likes stress, but really I try not to get involved in things that will, provoke my anxiety or get my mind going in that, all these weird directions, right? Like you have to be really mindful of what source you're you and your children, I have 4 kids, what they're involved in, right? Because really that could provoke anxiety, and it can start some kind, because we all have our different genetic makeup. We might have certain health conditions, certain mental health that we don't know that we have, right? So the more we're exposed to certain information, it can trigger all of that. So we have to be very mindful and see how our body reacts, because really our body tells us, if we pay attention, what's happening. If I'm watching something and all of a sudden, like, I can feel that, like all the hairs on my body's standing up. If I'm watching something that's making my heart palpitate, that's not the best thing for me. So then I have to be mindful that, you know what, I need to stay away from these kinds of information, right? You want to get information, but you don't want to get information that's going to harm you. So we have to be very mindful, us putting the content out there, and for those that are also receiving the information, right? So if we're putting something, especially about health, I'm a chronic illness, like, that's what I do. That's my bread and butter. There's a lot of serious things that I can talk about that will freak people out. But I can also put the same information in a way where people can still learn, improve their health without having the anxiety and the stress, right? So we have to be very mindful how we communicate and how we put information out there. We want to empower people, inspire people to change without causing a lot of mental, stress, because it takes very little for someone to go from feeling okay, especially if they suffer from, let's say, anxiety, depression, or all that, to, being triggered because of past trauma or something. So we have to be very, very mindful, the kind of information we put out there and what we also take in for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really like what you said, Julia, in terms of, tuning into your body and really recognizing the signs, because as you said, our bodies they do have ways of communicating to us. So
Right.
tuning in to what some of those signs could be, as you were saying, maybe heart palpitations, sweaty palms and whatnot, and really just tuning into that, I think, is extremely, extremely important. So thank you for mentioning that. My next question is for Louise. So Louise, why should individuals fact check before sharing a story?
As my colleague just mentioned, everything she just said before, she just has just said. One, we have to be very mindful about the information that we share, because it can affect, one, a brand, whether it's a lie or not, our mental health, our integrity. And when we're also dealing with young people as well, what information are we providing so they can have a fulfilled life? So it's very careful. Now, I know most of us talking about entrepreneurs, but in the holistic portion of our lives, our families, the community on a whole, we have to be very mindful about the information that we put out. We want to encourage, to inspire, to develop, to grow, to motivate for betterment for all. That's what I'm about. And the women here on this panel as well, as we have seen with all that they have done and continue to do through their own profession and volunteer work.
Yeah, I think so far everyone has spoken about, in terms of, the importance of fact checking, especially when you want to share any kind of information on a social media platform. So we've heard a lot of really great tips so far. So thank you all for all that you have provided to our audience this afternoon. My next question is for Fenella. So Fenella, what are the best platforms to promote your business or brand?
Well, I would say, like I mentioned before, and I think you have to figure out where your audience is and what your brand is. But I think professionally, like LinkedIn is a great one for that, in terms of connecting with other people who are like-minded as you, other professionals. And the content reflects that. You don't see a lot of, like, silly videos or memes and that sort of thing. It's very focused on sharing articles, educating, doing, LinkedIn lives that are helping people to build their business, connect, network, it's very focused on that. So I think that's a good start for anybody who is just starting out in their business. It's a great platform for you to get on there and to find other people who either would require services or that you can work with to build your network or your brand. As I mentioned, for me, I like Instagram because first they were very heavy on the photos, but they've moved away from that, and video content is what they're more looking for, interactive content. And now there's collaborating. So when you're posting, you're collaborating with other feeds, and you can have your feed posted on not just the person that you're tagging, but they also will put it on their feed. So then you get more people viewing your content. Um, I have used boosted content and pay for it. For me personally, I haven't found it of value, but some people do find it. Louise shaking her head. Some people do find it good. I'm not a fan. I'm not on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook.
I
I
know.
I
You
do
still
have
not?
I
You
do have a
still,
company
wow.
page on there because Instagram forced me to, right? When they merged, right? Meta, merged. So I
Yeah.
didn't have a choice. So I think I have a page on Instagram, and whatever I post on Facebook, and whatever I post on Instagram is automatically posted on Facebook, but I don't even know how to log on to it. Like I really have no interest in Facebook. Um, and that's just for a number of like just personal reasons, but I don't actually think my community is on there. I know where they are, and so I don't really want to focus too much energy on Facebook. And as I mentioned with X, if you're in um someone who's like a motivational speaker or leader or talking on a lot of different subjects, I think X is a good forum for you. There's a lot of discussion on there. There's a lot of opportunity to put your opinion out. And so I think that's a value if that's the sort of area that you're trying to focus on. And I already spoke about YouTube and the benefits of YouTube.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fenella. I think, yeah, as you mentioned, there are so many, various platforms that you can choose from. And depending on, specifically what type of content you are trying to promote, and each one, they do have their individual areas that they focus on. As you mentioned with Instagram, they're sort of honing in now on like video, reels and shorts and whatnot. So it really does, as you said, it really does depend on specifically what type of information it is that you are trying to promote.
Yeah,
I like.
I was just gonna say, I did, and I always keep forgetting, like TikTok is another big platform. I'm not on there, but I do know a lot of people that do use it and do find value in it because it's one of the newest ones. You can accumulate a lot of followers very quickly on that platform, and a lot of people do use it for educational purposes, learning purposes. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the governments and all that sort of stuff with TikTok. So I don't know how long it'll be around, but that's another platform that is pretty popular.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, I like what you mentioned in terms of, as an additional benefit about boosted content as another. I'm not sure how popular that is. If people are really taking it. I know that it is there, but I'm not sure if a lot of people do take advantage of it.
Well, I think Louise can speak to Facebook ads and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but I know some people do use that, and she's used it.
Yeah. Okay. And what has your experience been, Louise?
In my opinion, it's there. It can be used. It should be used, but sparingly. But always look for hire someone like me who is prepared to engage. With Facebook, it's all about engaging. That's how you get to results. Engaging with various groups.
Okay.
And you do have, in the individual that is doing it, have to have a passion for doing it because it is work.
Yeah.
But there's many of us out there who love doing that type of work, engaging and engaging, what you want to say, engaging, networking, reaching out that's what it is, because then it becomes genuine instead of just a post going out for people to see. To me, it is not authentic, and even the AI knows it's not authentic. If once we are being authentic and responding to people's liking, responding, a short note sharing, that it has more value than a paid ad of, let's say, $500. And if you're doing boosting, hey, you could do $1 a day. So that's $31 for the month, for a budget. But again, to be used sparingly. That's
Yeah,
my
no.
opinion on the matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think the fact that, we're I think right now we're sharing so much valuable information on this platform, in terms of what is available, boosted content. We're talking about the different platforms, the various ways that you can engage with your audience through posts, videos, reels, shorts, all of that. So there's definitely so much, that is available to us that we didn't have available to us about what, 10 years ago. So social media is definitely changing a lot. It's changing the way that we are able to share information, view information. I'm interested to see what social media will look like in the next 10 years, especially as AI is sort of been introduced and is really starting to become quite popular nowadays, especially with a lot of young content creators and whatnot. My next question is for Siobhan. So Siobhan, how can someone create a professional LinkedIn profile that stands out?
Awesome. Thanks to Kaya for asking that question. I wanted to touch a little bit on that AI part too, because I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's must be easy. I can just set up a whole, like my whole LinkedIn profile and just use AI to write all my posts and I'll be good. The reality is, like with AI, it's only going to get you like a B-level post, right? And you have to add your own voice to make it that A-level quality that people want to hear. And while it has simplified a lot of mundane tasks, and it can clean up, so if maybe if you're not a really good writer, it can clean it up a bit for you, but you got to make sure that your voice is coming through. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like everybody else, and then you're just going to fall into the background. So I think that's really important to note. And so when we're looking at like your LinkedIn profile specifically, there's a couple of tips to keep in mind. So the first is you want to have a really good picture. And I find a lot of times people put in pictures of like an avatar or something that's like not related. It's hard to even see who you are, or it's pixelated. Bad. You want to have a professional looking picture for LinkedIn because your audience is professionals. And if you can focus more on your head as opposed to your whole body, better, because people want to see who your face is and have that shine out. So it's always a headshot better than like a full body shot, unless you are like a swimsuit supermodel or something like that, and that's your business and you're advertising it, then you got some leeway there. That's not for me. Just head. The other thing is, like, you want to create like the title on your page to be something that's like compelling. So if you're like I'm an executive resume writer, right? I'm not, but if that's what you are, like put that out there. And then maybe you're a personal branding strategist, or then you could put the title of who you are in your organization. I'm director of communications or something like that. But you want to jazz it up a little bit. Like, I'm an inspiring leader for young children, or whatever it might be. But you want to get people's attention with it. Your heading. Make sure that you have a banner. And I think a lot of people forget that LinkedIn actually allows you to change your banner. It doesn't have to be blue with the little, I think, stars or something that's going on in the background, but something that's compelling, something that looks interesting, and optimize your background. If you happen to be a speaker, put a picture of you speaking to, a couple hundred people or something like that. Or at the very least, just holding a microphone so people get the image that they know that that's what you do. Or if you're going to put a background, have it related to what it is you're offering. So if you're a real estate agent, put some pictures of houses or something like that in the background so people can make that connection very quickly. You want to make sure that you have a good bio that's very enticing, that you want to either use first person or third, doesn't really matter, as long as you're consistent throughout the whole bio. And storytelling is a really great way to engage the reader. You want to talk a bit about your achievements, any accolades you may have received, what activities you're doing, volunteer and otherwise. Let people get to know you a bit in your bio. Ask people for recommendations too. So the more, when people see they've gone to, especially like an employer, prospective employer that's going to go and potentially hire you, you want them to see others who've worked with you and recommendations. It'll also help boost up your profile. And then add in your volunteer experience so people see that you're totally well-rounded. What are the things that you're interested in doing? So you can add them in on your LinkedIn profile, as well as highlights of any awards and recognitions that you have, any your education, all that can be added in there. And lastly, if you are advertising a business, and you might want to add links to your websites on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn can be a very powerful way of getting your voice there and establishing that credibility just by filling out your profile first and foremost before you even start contenting. And when you get into defining your brand, I'm going to leave you with 4 tips. So, and they're all P's. So the first one is know your purpose. What are you going to talk about? Make sure that you're clear. What's your personality? What's your voice? Let that be authentic so people can hear who you are, what's important to you. Talk about things that you're passionate about, because then it's interesting. If you don't passionate about it, then chances are it's going to come off like that when you write too. And then lastly, what's your perspective? So it's like your unique spin or thought on something. And that's ultimately how you establish yourself too as a thought leader.
Wow, I love that. I'm lost for words. Those are some really, really good, great tips, Siobhan. I myself took notes of what you mentioned. I love the 4 P's that you mentioned about purpose, personality, passion, and perspective. Those are really great advice. So yeah, I hope everybody in the audience are also taking notes as well, about all this really, really valuable information that is being shared this afternoon. I do want to redirect our attention to, there's a question, a Q&A question. Someone asked, I understand staying in your lane, but what happens if you want to transition into another area? Is that the point about your interests? And I guess I'll just put that on the floor for anybody that would like to respond to that.
I'm not quite sure what the last part of the question. Sorry, I don't understand the last part of the question when she.
So I think maybe they were making reference to someone else that spoke about your interest. I think earlier we were talking about, sort of honing in on what your specific interests are when you do decide to make a post on social media. So they're asking, what do you call it? Stay in your lane. Well, what happens if you want to transition into another area? So I guess what they're asking is if, for example, if you're, I don't know, into farming, as an example, and then, you do want to go into another area of interest, how do you sort of make that transition? What are your recommendations for individuals that would like to transition to another area of interest?
Make sure the way is clear and that the information they're about to present is authentic and it's truth. It's facts. So you can't decide to go into another lane if you're not prepared and have the correct information.
Yeah. And if you're totally like switching lanes into something, like I have a friend right now and she was in fashion or something and she's now changing into a more corporate thing. So she just scrubbed her Instagram. So she removed everything that was there and is now starting fresh, right, with her new lane. So that makes it quite clear, right, that she's transitioning to something different.
Yeah. And I think you can share different parts of you too. Like I do a lot. I connect everything to health. I think everything we do is connect, like it's our health. So even when I'm out there having fun, if I'm in the community giving a speech, if I'm teaching, I connect everything. So I think for me, it's just showing who I am as a holistic person. Like it's not that there's only the Juliet that's the vice president, the Juliet that's the health educator, but Juliet also have fun. Juliet likes fashion and Juliet likes, so, I think sometimes if we bring different parts of ourselves, because everybody relates to different things, right? And then for me, that's my way of engaging. So if, for example, if I'm talking about mental health and other things, right, I can use a different niche because I talk about self-love quite a bit, and how mental health look like, right? And then I'll give an example of somebody could, like myself, that's out there socializing, having fun, could also be suffering from depression and this and this and this. Just to connect to people that, like people go through different things, and they're like, I call it like we're all like onions. There's different layers of us. So I think sharing it, and like Louise said, being authentic, sharing your true self and giving the right information and connecting it properly can help different people on different levels, right? And then like everybody said, with the different social media, you can connect it differently. But I think sharing a little bit of yourself, if you're comfortable, I think that's also a good way to connect with other people, because we all connect differently, right?
I think you could also do like an actual transition post, like just state it. Look, I am happy, or I'm thrilled to announce that I am doing XYZ, whatever it is, right? And then from there on, this is what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But and that doesn't negate what you did in the past. That was like a previous job, previous role, previous whatever. But now you switch gears, and this is what I'm going to talk about. But be consistent about that, right? I think the problem that happens is when you switch and then switch again, and then there's no theme.
There's no
Nothing being threaded.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's where people start getting more confused. And then your audience starts to pull back because they don't really know what you're there to talk about. And then they lose the interest and they move on to other things. But there's nothing wrong if you were going, say, from fashion to, okay, I'm moving over into accounting, right? And if you want, you could totally make the switch, just say, this is what I'm doing now. And if you wanted to draw the link, like I'm a fashionista on a dime, I don't know, you can do that.
You can, exactly, you can.
Right? But just state what it is, and then figure out what is the right platform for you to be talking about that too. Because if you were talking about maybe fashion before, maybe you were on Instagram and you're showing people stuff. Now, if you moved over to finance and accounting, maybe you might want to move the platform over to LinkedIn or something else. Like you got to figure out what is your purpose again, and who's your audience targeted for this, and then figure out what might be the best use for you to get your message across.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, some really, really valuable gems that are being dropped this afternoon. Okay, so I see lots of emojis are coming through. There's lots of heart emojis, party emojis, hand claps. So the audience, they are really enjoying the conversation and what all of you are sharing. All right, so my next question is for Juliet. So Juliet, how can misinformation affect the management of chronic illness?
Yeah, I think I touched base on it earlier. I think the most important thing is where the source is coming from, the information is coming from. For example, anybody can write anything out there. I'm a YouTuber. I put a lot of content about chronic illness management, diabetes, hypertension, all of that is there. I think you should know who is giving you the information before you just take it in. And even if it's from a credible source, once again, this is our health. So we have to cross-check it with our doctors, our nurses, whoever that's working with us in our clinical multidisciplinary team. Because once again, we're all not made from the same material. We all have different things, and as we age, different organs work differently. And sometimes someone can take this medication because their liver is working perfectly, and then maybe 10 years from now they can't take that because of what's happening. So we have to be very mindful. Always go to, for example, if somebody's managing, and I go back to diabetes because it's one of those chronic illness that encompasses everything. Like it affects everything from head to toe, I call it, right? Like because the sugar is in our blood, so everything is affected. Our motion, everything affects our blood sugar level and affects our management. So if you need information, go to a credible source like the Canadian Diabetes Association or Diabetes Canada, go to the American Diabetes Association. So go to credible source. And then when you do find those information, apply it to you, right? Because, for example, and also seek advice from your team, because really everybody's working with you to make sure that you get the right information. Because chronic illness management, somebody could be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and we can manage it completely differently. Some people could be taking insulin, some could be using just lifestyle management to manage, some could be taking pills. So there's all different ways of managing the same disease. So just because we all are we're being labeled the same doesn't mean the treatment is the same. So we have to be very, very mindful. And then one thing that I like to put out there is all these information about take this and it will cure your diabetes. Please, let's be very careful. Let's be very careful, because diabetes is a disease that you can have and manage and live a healthy, normal life. It's not a death sentence. It's all of the information that you get and how you manage it, right? Because, like, once again, you have the diabetes and blood pressure comes in, then cholesterol comes in, and these are our best friends that like to work and can destroy our bodies if we're not careful. So we have to be very mindful of how we take the information. There is no, and I'm a Christian, and my mother will argue with me right now if she was here. So there's no cure. So it's not like you take X, Y, Z and your diabetes is gone. It's manageable. You can have great blood sugar levels. You can have great, for example, just any chronic illness, hypertension, whatever. If you're doing the management right, you can still live and thrive and have good result. But the minute those good habits goes away, guess what? The sugar start to go up, the pressure start to go up, cholesterol start to build. Now your joints are kicking in. So there's a lot that can happen because our body's all connected. So you have to be very mindful that you don't buy into things. And also when you're listening to somebody talking about something, what are they trying to sell you? Are they selling a product to you? Right? That's another thing, right? Because there's all these gadgets, all these things that says, take this vitamin and it will cure this and this and this. And then you go to check and it's very expensive. I mean, I don't know about you ladies, but food is already very expensive to buy. And now people are telling us you have to eat from this organic farm or from this place, right? And it's just, it's sad, but people actually will use their last bit of money to buy, and it doesn't mean anything but how the disease is being managed to affect. So we have to be very mindful. So look at the intent behind what somebody is selling and where the information is coming from, and then use that to apply to yourself, not to the disease itself, but to yourself. And then, use that to kind of help you manage, because like it's not no disease is a death sentence. Everything is manageable. If you get the right people to help you, the right source and the right management, right? So just, we have to be very careful of all the little information, because everybody wants a cure, right? Like if I can, Juliet can give you a pill and all of it goes away, of course, why not? I'll be a very rich woman, but there's no such thing, right? It's a combination of a lot of things that we do well that helps us. So we have to be very mindful of the quick fix that we hear out there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think in this day and age that we're living in, I think oftentimes individuals are looking for, as you mentioned, a quick fix, right? They may not want to put in the work. Even right. going back to what Siobhan was mentioning about, using AI to try to make posts,
That's right.
to make the post for you. So I think it's so important, as all of you mentioned, about the importance of, doing the research, taking the time to put in the work, whether that work is toward your health, social media posts, trying to promote your business, what it is that you're trying to do. So definitely just want to reiterate the importance of putting in the work, and by putting in the work, hopefully you will see those results.
That's right.
Whatever it is that it is that you are doing. I just want to redirect our attention to the chat. There are two last comments that I see here. So this is from, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I believe it's Suluchana. Said, thank you so much. It was a great, organic, insightful session from great women speakers today. And then, so very, very wonderful conversation. And then there's another comment here. So many people put information out there to harm rather than heal. Another comment from Donna. A lot of social media is associated with ads and sales. They all sound good. How do you escape these sales without being caught or fooled? That's a really good question. Yeah. How would any of you respond to that question? How do you know if these ads or sales, if they're real or not?
There's an old saying that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just that simple, right? So it's a lot of this comes down to common sense, right? So if something sounds like unrealistic, like, I don't know, some sale where a designer, shoes are now like, 30% off or, 30% cost. And because they have this, they have got this sort of like excess stuff and, a whole long story, right? Like that, and then we're trying to get rid of them and just send us, your credit card. It's not true. And it's very easy, again, like to Google is always your friend, right? To check out things. And there are times when I've seen things that sound too good to be true. And I will actually put in the exact sentence, or I will put in the exact, like, I received this email from Microsoft saying they need my that they received a request for a password or whatever, right? I'll put that exact phrase in, and you'll get like, yes, this is, a common fraud that's being used, or email that's being sent out, or whatever. So be very specific, put it in Google, and they'll tell you, like, it's, because you're not the first person, trust me. And a lot of these things are very, like, they throw a wide net out and they hope to catch a few people.
Right.
Yeah.
Using Google even just to say, is the site legit, is good, because it'll also tell you what the rating for that site is. If there's been numerous complaints, like especially if you do like online shopping and you want to know, is this a really good site? Like, am I going to get the clothes that I just purchased here? And it will tell you, like, do not buy from this site because there's been X amount of percent, or it'll give you the percentage of the like a rating about how good or bad the site is based on other people's ratings. And I think that is extremely helpful for you to figure out whether or not it's legitimate, or, you should be backing off that particular site.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you mentioned, Fenella, if it is too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah.
So just as we're sort of winding down here for this afternoon, I just want to go around and, if you have any final remarks that you would like to share with the audience, how can they keep in touch with you? How can we follow you? So maybe if we could start with maybe Louise, if you don't mind sort of
Certainly.
closing
I
us
am on
out.
Facebook because that's where I reside and live. My name is Louise Noel Ambrose. Please join me, follow me. At the moment, I cannot add any more friends. However, I am accepting followers. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. How about Juliet?
On all
Do you
of
mind
the
going in?
platforms, I'm on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. But as I said, for me, Facebook has been very beneficial for me, and it works for me.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank
And
you.
do you have any final thoughts for the audience, Louise, that you'd like to share?
Follow your gut instinct before sharing. There is always something so, whenever you hear that, just leave it alone. That's it. We already have it built within us. We know it's already within us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louise. And Juliet, final words?
Just be careful with the information out there, especially when it comes to health, because, our health is everything. Just make sure that you cross-reference, you apply it to yourself to make sure that it's not just anything out there that you're just, pulling from anywhere. Enjoy being on social media because that's, I think sometimes we become too serious. Just enjoy the comedy, enjoy everything. It's all part of living, right? But just make sure that if it comes to things that you're applying to yourself, especially now, I mean, I can speak for myself, the money is not just out there, right? We don't want to throw your money to things that it's not going to bring you any benefit. So we have to be very careful. I do have a YouTube channel. So in the community, I do a lot of community advocacy, a lot of community work. I work with a lot of international student newcomers, people without status, try to connect them with free healthcare and health resources and all of that from all over. So I put lots of content out there in my YouTube channels. If you type in Julie with 2 O's at the end, it will pull all my videos and all my information. I'm on every social media. I have different hats that I put on. So I do different things. I'm into fashion. I do everything. So but my bread and butter, like I said, I connect it all back to health, and especially mental health. So any information that you need, it's there to help you. And if you want to connect with me, my number is everywhere. Even on my LinkedIn, my number is there because everybody connect, especially because of the immigration population that I work with free health access and medication and medical equipment. So any help that I can give to anybody, I am there providing, volunteering my expertise to help in any way I can.
Thank you, Julia. How about you, Siobhan?
I would say like 3 things. One is to make sure that you have a purpose and like what is your focus and your intent. Pick 1 or 3 areas of interest that you're passionate about and focus on that. The second thing is to be authentic. When you're talking, talk from your heart. Just let people hear your voice. What's your personality? Let people get to know you and what it is that you represent. And then 3, you want to share your perspective. What are your thoughts on something, and make that authentically real, and also fact check it too. So that when you're going to share your point of view, you back it up with some research.
That's right.
Just like we learned in school, right? You got your points, you have your subjects or your thesis, but you got to back it up with that research. And also when you're sharing your perspective, share your perspective and your thoughts on other people's posts too. That way you can engage and you can all network and connect with each other at the end of the day. And if you want to connect with me, I would say the best platform is LinkedIn for you to reach me.
And Fenella?
So I would say I guess my last thoughts is that I know for me, as I said, I wasn't really that interested in being involved in social media. So if you're new to figuring it out, I would recommend like I live in Durham, so I went to the Durham Business Center, and there was actually a class on understanding Instagram and how it can help your business. So I could wrap my head around this platform, because at that time I was just like, well, I don't want to post pictures about myself, or I don't understand how this can help my business. So, finding resources like that can help you understand the platforms and how it can help your business, I would recommend for anybody who's just venturing into it. Also, again, what is your time worth? It does take a lot of time. So if there are a lot of digital marketing students that are looking for internships, that are looking for opportunities. There's people like Louise that you can get a consultancy with, and it can help you so that you can make the process like a lot easier for you to streamline it, whether you're using a social media tool like Hootsuite to help you plan. So, to figure out, so it doesn't become so overwhelming for you, right? Because I think a lot of people are intimidated by social media because they see influencers and people who are on there that are doing all these fancy videos and effects and music, and how do I even start that, right? So look to those sort of resources to get yourself going, and not to feel pressured, which comes back to the mental health thing, to do what everybody else is doing. Do what's comfortable for you and what you can manage. And again, you don't have to post every day. You don't have to post every little thing. Be intentional about what you're posting, what works for your brand, and you're being authentic about it will bring you an audience. And just make sure that you're engaging, that you are resharing. That LinkedIn is great for that as well, like that you're commenting on other people's stuff and resharing it, and you will build an audience that way. The best way to reach me is LinkedIn, IG, and I'll put it in the chat. My company is FKB Media, and those are the best ways to reach me. I also have a YouTube channel where I have tons of free videos that I post. They're like literally like 10 minutes long, on branding, on media releases, on media outreach, all those sort of things. So check it out. There's actually worksheets that you can download for free that will help you get your self together in terms of those areas.
I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well-
Subscribe and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much this afternoon. It was such a pleasure speaking with all of you and getting to know you better. I hope our audience, I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had this afternoon. Just want to invite all the participants that are here that we are going to be having a quick debriefing for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes afterwards. So if you would like to stay on and join, you can definitely do that. And yeah, we will see all of you next Sunday for another segment of Fireside Chat. And thank you again, ladies. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent job.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, great moderating.
Look how far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment.